Hello Primary 4, this is Chapter 3, Lesson 7. This lesson is about line plot. Let's start it together. Okay, Nada went to the market. She wanted to bought some apples. So she bought some baskets that has apples inside it. Each basket has the number of apples on the basket. She wanted to know how many baskets that has 13 apples, how many baskets that has 10 apples, and how many baskets that has 14, and so on. So she used the line plot. A line plot is a way to represent the repeated data. So let's see how we're going to use it. Here I have some baskets that have apples, and I want to use line plot to represent them. So I will draw my line plot and I will put down here the numbers of apples that I have in each basket. I have here some basket that has 10 and some basket has 12 and 15, 14, 13 and so on. So I will draw a line and I will draw down here my scale. The scale will start with the number, the smallest number that I have here in the apples. Smallest number is 10. And I will move by 1. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now, I want to know the numbers of baskets that has 10 apples, number of baskets that has 11 apples, number of baskets that have 12 apples, and so on. So, I will put down the baskets, each number in the scale, in its place in the scale. So first, this is 13 apples in the basket. So where is 13 here? Here is 13. So I will put it down here. This is 10 apples in the basket. So I will put it down on 10. And this is another 13. So I put it here on 13 apples. And here's 15 apples in the basket. This is 14 apples, so I put down on 14. 13 apples in the basket, so I put it here on 13. 14 apples in the basket, so I'll put it on 14. 10 apples on the basket, so I put it on 10. 12 apples on the basket, so I put it on 12. 15 apples, so I put it there. 14 on 14. 15 on 15. And 13 on 13. And here's 14. Okay, so now I know that this is my line plot. The numbers down on the scale represent the number of apples in each basket. This is basket that has 10 apples. This basket that has 12 apples. Basket that has 13 apples. The basket that has 14 apples, and the basket that has 15 apples. Okay? Okay. And instead of this baskets, I will put X's because it's more easy and simple to be written. So I will say that each X represents two baskets. So I will remove each two baskets and draw one X. Let's see how it's done. So here I have 10. Okay, 10 what? What this mean? This means number of apples in the basket. So there's the basket that has 10 apples. There's two baskets that has 10 apples. So I will remove this and I will put X. Why did I put one X? Because this one X represented two baskets. So each two baskets, I will remove them and I will put one X. So this one X represents two baskets that was here and I removed them. Okay, here I have only one basket, so I won't draw X, I will just draw one dash. Okay, because the whole X represents two baskets, but I don't have two baskets, I only had one basket, so I just draw one dash. Okay, how many baskets I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. and each X represents what? 2 baskets. So this is 2 mean 1x, and this is 2 mean 1x. So I will remove this 4 baskets and I'll put 2 x's because each x represents 2 baskets. Here I have how many baskets that has 14 apples? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 baskets. Each 2 baskets mean 1x. So I will remove this 4 baskets and I will put 2 x's instead of this. Here I have 3 baskets. Okay? Each basket has 15 apples. But I don't want to have baskets. I will make it easier for me if I put x's. So I will remove them and put x's. I know that each 2 baskets mean 1x. So I will put 1x instead of this and 1 dash for the one other basket. So now I made my line plot. So the line plot is a way to represent the repeated data. I had here some baskets, all of them have apples, but some of them has 10 apples, some of them has 12, and some of them has 13, but all of them were apples, right? All of them were apples. So that all the data is about apples. So I repeat the data about apples. So this is why I use line plot for repeated data. All of them was baskets, but there is a number that repeated. Numbers repeated, so we use line plot. Okay? Okay. I want to answer here some questions about the line plot I had. So let's remember again. This is my line plot. The numbers down written here is the scale. And this scale represents what? Numbers of apples in each basket. Okay? So the scale represents number of apples, or it may be age of students, or it may be weight of a student, size of a shoe, anything that you have measured repeatedly, a number of something. The line plot, we use it, the scale for number. Okay? So here I have my line plot, and I want to answer some questions about it. I know that each X represents 2 baskets. Okay? The first question I have here, how many baskets that has 14 apples? So I will look here on the scale. The scale that has 14, number 14 on the scale has 2 X's, but I know that each X represents 2 baskets. So this means I have 1, 2, 3, 4 baskets. 4 baskets has 14 apples. Okay? Next question. How many baskets that has 12 apples? So I will look here on the scale. Where is 12? Here is 12. How many baskets that has 12 apples? I only has 1 dash. Because this 1 dash represents only 1 basket. Okay. How many baskets are represented in all? So I want to know how many baskets I have in all. So I will count all the x's. But don't forget that each x represents 2. So I will count by 2. 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. But I still have here 2 dashes. After 12, each one represents 1. 13, 14. So this means I have 14 baskets. This is all the baskets I have in all. Which number of apples is repeated the least? Okay, which numbers of apples in the basket repeated the least? This means that I will look at the x's. Which is the least repeated? the least repeated amount means the number that has least number of x's. The least frequency means the least number of x's. Again, which number of apples in the basket repeated the least? So I will see which number here on the scale has the least x's or the least number of baskets. So the least one I have here was 12 because it only has one dash, one basket. So the least number of apples repeated was 12 because only one basket has 12 apples. What does this line plot show? This line plot show what? If I want to know what this line plot show, I will look at the scale. It shows what numbers of apples in each basket. Okay, this is about the line plot. To understand it more, let's move to the next question. Okay, here I want to draw a line plot to represent the weight of some children. I have here some children and the weight of each one of them is written up here on the top of the child. Okay, so let's draw a draw a line plot together to represent this. So I will draw a line plot. Okay, I will start my line plot with the smallest number I have here. What is the smallest number I have here? Look at all the weights and search for the smallest one. Smallest one here is 22. So I will put 22 and 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34. If you look at the scale, you can see that I skipped by 2. I didn't move one by one. Why did I use the scale by 2? Because if you look at the weights you have here, you can see that all of them is skipped by 2. So to make it more easier, I can use skip count to draw the line that I have. So I will start with 22 and I will skip by 2. 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34. Now, let's see how to draw the x's on the line plot. Before I start, I must know that this scale represents what? The weight in kilograms. So this scale is about what? The weight. So this 22 means 22 kilograms, or 24 means what? 24 kilograms. This 26 means what? 26 kilograms. So you must know the number of steps, not 22 apple or 22 orange or 22 watermelon. It's 22 kilograms. Scale representing weight. Okay? Now, let's see. To draw the x's, you will see the repeated number of 22s. So how many 22s are repeated? Let's see it together. 1, 2, 3. Is there any 22 here again? Let's see. Nothing else. So let's draw it. Before we draw it, we must write up here our key. What is the key? The key tells me each x represents what? So I will write the key. Each x represents 2 kids or 2 child. So let's draw the x's. So I will have here 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 22s. Okay? So each x is 2 and 1. So this means 3. Let's move to the next one. 24. Let's search for 24. We have here 1, 2, only 2. only two 24s. I know that each X represents 2 kids. So 1, 2. Okay, let's move to the next number. 26. How many times it's repeated? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's repeated 4 times. So I will draw here 1, 2, 3, 4, mean 2 X's. Let's move to the next number. 28. Let's see how many times 28 repeated. 1 and nothing else. So only 1. So I will draw 1 X. No, this is incorrect. Because one child doesn't mean 1 X. One child only means 1 dash. 1. Like this. Let's move to the next number. 30 kilogram. How many times it's repeated? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 kids, that is 30 kilograms. So let's put them here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's move to the next number. 32 kilograms. Let's see how many kids are 32. How many times it's repeated? There is no 32 here, so I will leave it empty. So if it's empty, can I skip it and don't write it on the line plot? Can just remove it from the line plot? No. You skip by 2, so you still have it. Let's move to the next number. 34. How many times it's repeated? Let's see. 1, 2. So 2 34 mean 1x. 1, 2. So this is how I draw my line plot. I will look at the numbers down here and we'll put it down on the line plot. And then I will start, first I will start with the smallest number. And then to draw the x's, you will see how many times each number repeated. And you will see the x represents 2 or 3 or what. Okay, let's answer some questions about this line plot. What is the scale for the line plot? This line plot skip by 5 or by 2 or by what? Skip by 2, so the scale is 2. How many children are 26 kilograms? So I have how many children? 2 x's, and each x represents what? 2 children. So I have 2, 4. 4 children. What is the greatest weight? The greatest weight. So I will look at the weights I have here and I will see which one is the greatest weight. The greatest weight is the biggest one, 34 kilograms. What weight is the least number of children? Mean what weight has the least repeated number, least number of x's. The weight that has the least number of x's, look at the line plot. Which one? It's 28. So it has only one dash, mean only one child that has 28 kilograms. So the weight was 28 kilograms. Here I want to use the following line plot to answer the questions. I have here a line plot and I already have the x's on it, and I want to answer only the questions on the line plot. Okay, before we answer the questions, we must read the data on the line plot. You have here a line plot, the x's you have, and the numbers down on the scale. You must know what the scale represents and what the x's represent. You write down here number of minutes studied. So this scale represents number of minutes. So this 60 represents 60 minutes, 75 represents 75 minutes, 90 represents 90 minutes, 105 represents 105 minutes. So each one of this represents minutes. And you write down here each X represents 2 students. So your key means that this is 2 students studied for 60 minutes. 2 students studied for 75 minutes. And here's 2, 4, 6 students studied for 90 minutes. And here's 2 students studied for 105 minutes. 2, 4 students studied for 120 minutes. 2 students studied for 135 minutes and 2 students studied for 150 minutes. Now, after I read the data I had, I will answer my questions. First question we have here, what is the scale for the line plot? The scale for the line plot means how you skip here. You skip by 2 or by 5 or by 6. Look here, this is 60, this is 75. So what did I skip here? I skipped for 15. So your scale is 15. What was the most amount of money spent studying? The most amount spent studying means the most number of minutes, right? What is the most number of minutes? Number of minutes, so I will look at the scale. The most number of minutes was 150 minutes. So the most amount of time was 150 minutes. What is the most repeated? The most repeated, so I will look at the x's. The question I had above was the most number of time, the time spent. So I will look at the time. But here I have the most repeated. So I will look at the most numbers that has x's. So which one here the most has x's or repeated? So this is 90 minutes. So if he asks me about the common or the repeated number, this means I will look at the x's. If he asks me about the amount or the scale, so I will look at the numbers I have down. Next question. How many students studied for 120 minutes? So I will look at 120 minutes. If I want to know how many students, I will count the x's because each x represents 2 students. So I have here 2, 4. So 4 students studied for 120 minutes. Thank you for your attention. See you next time.